All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Marketing Spotlight. The spotlight today is on the wonderful Kirsten Goulier, a fellow SEO strategist. We met at a networking event a while back, and I was like, another SEO person who's not a dude, which is even more exciting because it is a very dude-heavy space. So I
Yes, it
love
is.
connecting with other SEO people, but especially SEO people who are not dudes. So nothing against the dudes. It's just, we bring, I think, a certain something to it. So, Kirsten, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Allison. Yeah, it's fun being a girl in SEO.
It is, isn't it? So, how did you get into SEO?
Well, so originally I was like many marketers, wearing all the hats. So I did a bit of everything. And I got started in the nonprofit world, which I feel like you kind of wear even more hats because, budget reasons. So yeah, I used to just do like email and social media and videos and photos, like I was doing everything. But the one thing that I didn't do or know what it was SEO.
Mhm.
So SEO and PPC. So we at the theater we would outsource that, and we would get these reports from this agency, and I would be like, I'm so confused. Like, what does this mean? Um, like keywords, like they we were always like, marketing shows, so they'd be like, explain the show and with keywords, and I'd be like, what is this? And so, but they would never tell me what it was exactly what they were doing. So,
Mm.
yeah, I found that basically to learn SEO, I kind of had to do it. So after that, I moved and I was looking for a new job, and I was like, maybe I'll just like apply to be an SEO and learn how to do that. And so luckily, like the agency I applied at, they were interested in, college like grads who, wanted to get started at the bottom. And so they did, like a month-long training, and you learned everything
Hmm.
at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, since then I just kind of thought it was so cool. Like I think the thing that blew my mind the most was like the little like blurb you see in search results,
Yeah.
like the meta description.
Hmm.
I had always like found that meta description like answering my query. And
Hmm.
so many times I would go to the page and try to find that text and it wouldn't
Mm.
be there. And I
Yeah.
was always like, what? I just saw it in the Google result, but when I get to the page, it's not there. And that was always so frustrating. And so it
Yeah.
was funny when you find out the behind the scenes, like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
totally different part of the website. That's like a little snippet of code. And so
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, yeah, like pulling back the curtain and seeing how it all worked, I thought was really
Hmm.
cool. Um, and yeah, just like figuring out like why things were showing up, I thought that was awesome. And so after that, I kind of went back to nonprofits and I brought that skill with me, which was nice because like, I stopped my companies from like hiring a lot of people because I was like, I can do it myself. Um, but then yeah, when the pandemic hit, like SEO is just such a great like remote option. So I just kind
Hmm.
of hunkered down in SEO and bounced around from agency to agency. And then here we are now. I decided to start my own.
I love it. Yeah. And I feel like there was such a demand for SEO right when the pandemic hit because suddenly everyone was like, oh crap, we need to be online. Like
Yeah.
we need to take this online stuff seriously. So the people who were already online and already optimizing everything had a leg up, but everyone else was kind of scrambling to get caught up. So that was a great time to transition
Yeah.
into SEO full time. And I should have started. I always like to break down the lingo for viewers and listeners who are unfamiliar. SEO stands for search engine optimization, or for those of you who knew that at some point but may have forgotten because it does get complicated. So yeah, search engine optimization, I like to refer to it as making Google your friend because although there are other search engines, Google owns 90 some percent of the online search market still. So we got to play by Google's rules. So, yeah, I was kind of similar to you. I fell into it also by keywords. I found keywords really fast. Of course, the writer found keywords fascinating. And I got into it because I was blogging and I found blogging and SEO were just so intertwined that I could not do one without the other. So I,
Intertwined. That's the name of my business. Just kidding.
there you go. Yes.
That's funny.
Yes. Tell.
People don't use that word often. So you just said it. I was like, oh, I like that. But yeah, blogging and keywords, very intertwined.
Yeah, you really can't. I mean, you can have one without the other, but they're not going to be good.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it was so funny you were talking about meta descriptions and like being frustrated that it's not on the page. I, as someone who does a lot of meta descriptions, and right now that's a big project I'm working on is updating and fixing the meta descriptions for a client on like all of his pages. And I'm always like, should I just like take a snippet from the page that has the keywords in it and is that way people will find it and it's the right piece of text and or should I write something completely new?
Yeah,
And it is always kind of a give and take
yeah.
with that one.
It is funny because Google used to kind of say like make it like original content,
Yeah.
but it's funny because most of the time Google will rewrite them just by pulling the content. So,
Thanks,
yeah,
Google. That's
like
awesome.
yeah, I guess it's just like whatever answers the query best. But yeah,
Hmm.
it used to be so funny. Like as like a teen, I would be like, you want that one answer, and so I'd be like,
Hmm.
oh, there's the answer, and then I'd go to the web page and I'd be like. I like control F, like, where was those words? I just saw it and I was so
Yep.
confused. Like, why is it in the search results but not on the page? And
Hmm.
now it all makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that funny when you get into the weeds and you go, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So that does bring me into something that we deal with SEO a lot, which is the um, not the featured snippet, but the no click, the zero click results. Google, even before ChatGPT came out, Google was promoting this idea of you search something and you get the answer right there without having to click through to the website, which is great for the user, especially if you have a quick question with a quick answer, like how many teaspoons in a tablespoon kind of a question.
Yeah.
But for those of us who spent all that time creating that content to drive leads to our website, and now they're not coming to our website. So, do you have ways to get around that? Are you optimizing for those zero click results? What is your strategy there in terms of SEO, but also actually getting people to the website?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting the featured snippet is still like a really cool accomplishment. So I'm always trying to get them, even though it does kind of, like you said, limit click through rate. But yeah, for to get them, I do what, they suggest. Like I found literally just reformatting stuff really helps. So like making
Yeah.
things lists, making things numbered,
Hmm.
that can help.
Google
But
loves a good list.
yeah, and they've really like said now with like ChatGPT especially like getting just like straight to the point and like reducing the fluff and like honestly having like a pretty like straightforward formatting and like coding actually does help with that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is a funny world we live in now because like I totally get that point of view. Like when you want something, you don't want to have to go to someone's website. Like you want to just yeah, like what movie did Kate Winslet win her Oscar for? Like you don't want to read a blog. You just want to say like, oh,
Yeah,
there it is.
that
Um,
movie. Yep.
yeah, and I guess when it comes to that, it's just kind of knowing like the search intent. So like yeah, if you're going to spend time in writing blogs that are answering those kind of questions, just kind of knowing that, it's like an informational query and that person probably might not be looking to like learn about an HVAC and then book your HVAC client,
Hmm.
Um, and just trying to go after more like the right kind of search intent.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I do think also like yeah, like knowing what does require a little bit more content around like I'm like someone who can't make a decision without spending like a week on it. So like I think there's always going to be that person that wants to do the additional research and read, a
Hmm.
million blogs and articles and stuff. So yeah, it's just you can go for the surface level stuff, but no, it's going to be answered right on the in the search results. Or like if you go into the deeper stuff, you might get more people to your site. And
Mm-hmm.
then if they find you valuable, they're like, oh, maybe I should hire this person.
Yeah, I think search intent is really the key there. Which you pointed out is, yeah, there are people who are looking for a quick answer, and there are people who want to know more, and that's gonna be evident in the search term that they use to find your content. So,
Yeah,
um,
like if the search was like how to choose a hairbrush, you could say like the four like very small reasons to choose like size and structure or whatever. But then, if you go into it more, like more, if someone's looking for more detail, like write that blog and then they might, read your blog and then buy your hairbrush.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned a while back about ChatGPT, and I do want to talk about that because that is what I think is really interesting is the way ChatGPT is changing how people look for information. As again, as a writer and blogger, people are always asking me if how it's affecting my job. I'm like, is this a writer and a blogger? It's not really. I think as an SEO strategist, especially in 2025, I think that is what's going to change in my job because of ChatGPT, especially now that we have Search GPT. For a while, everyone was using ChatGPT as a search engine, and I was like, no, no, please don't do that. It gives you wrong information and it does not cite its sources, and you have no idea where it's coming from. Don't do that. But now we have Search GPT, which is designed as a search engine and does cite its sources. So what are your thoughts on how that's going to change the world of online search, and how are you adjusting your strategy to accommodate it?
Yeah, I mean, and on one hand, like it's kind of exciting to be like out in the ground floor for like a new technology because I didn't get started with SEO until 2017, and at that point there had been SEOs doing it for 20 years at that point. So
Hmm.
it's kind of cool to like have you're starting at the same point as everyone. So like there's no expert really yet. Like you could be the expert. So that's kind of cool. Like no one and like my clients will ask me like how do I get on ChatGPT? And it's like no one really knows yet. Like we're
Yeah.
testing and like figuring it out. So like that's kind of cool seeing like what's working, what's not, reading all the articles about what, the experts quote are seeing. Um because yeah, it is kind of it's changing everything. Um but like I said, it's like they're kind of starting to figure out, like I said, like a less coded website, you have
Hmm.
to like basically ChatGPT can't read JavaScript or something like that. So like not having a lot of JavaScript and stuff. Um, so just figuring all that out. But yeah, it also is just figuring out why why are people using ChatGPT or Search GPT versus like a traditional search? Like what is the different usage? Um, and yeah, just kind of figuring out how does your website fit into that. Um, a lot of it is like a lot like they're finding a lot is tied with like digital PR. So like now when someone's searching like like going to ChatGPT and saying something like what should I do for Valentine's Day? What's a good Valentine's Day date? And like they like curate this whole thing for you. They're
Hmm.
pulling all that from like digital PR pieces they're reading, like the
Hmm.
10 best Valentine's Day restaurants in New York City. So it is a lot of going back to the roots of like making sure that you are getting featured in all these pieces and publications.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just kind of just figuring out what works. So yeah, like digital PR and yeah, like making really readable blog posts and stuff like that. But yeah, it is kind of scary because like I was thinking to myself the other day, I'd love to do a poll like on my personal Instagram because I have like a really like big feeling that a lot of people don't even know what the top of Google is now. Like
Yeah.
I'll be standing next to like my sister or my friend or something and they'll Google something, my husband even, and he'll just read that top blurb that comes up from the AI. And he'll like give
Mm.
me that answer and I'll be like, "Do you want to like check what that is? Like where that came from?"
Yeah.
Like sometimes it'll literally say the opposite of what the article it's pulling from says. Like it's so it is interesting. Like I don't really think a lot of people even know how Google is changing. Like, I think they're thinking that might be a featured snippet. It's not a featured snippet.
It's not.
And it's so I kind of want to do a poll. Like, do you know what that is? Like,
Hmm.
do you want to do more research? So, like, and like influencers, I'll see them screenshot that and put it as their like answer to something, and I'm like, you don't even. I don't think anyone knows. So it's kind of we're almost it's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary, yeah, because it does give wrong answers. I still laugh at, I think it was Google's AI overview telling people to put glue on pizza. Back in that it was sometime last year, someone was like, "How do you get your toppings to stay on homemade pizza?" And it pulled a joke that someone made from a Reddit thread that was clearly meant to be a joke, but
Yeah.
because AI doesn't have the same basis of knowledge that we have, where these things are obvious to us, it goes, "Oh, well, here's your answer." And really? Really?
Yeah. It's also funny sometimes because I use ChatGPT in my work to like, help me with content. And you really do have to, you know, pay attention to it because if you like, and I get lazy sometimes, but like I literally the other day was watching it and it was for one of my like lighting clients and it was talking about like a chandelier and it was like the chandelier makes the room taller. Like it said something like that. And I was like, okay, I get like what they're saying. And then I responded, I was like, is the chandelier making the room taller? And I always call him a he like came back and he's like, you're right. It lengthens the room, but it's not really making the room physically taller. Like the way he had worded it was so funny. Like he was saying like it made the room taller. And like you have to catch it because it's making these funny little sentences that
Mm-hmm.
aren't exactly what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was hilarious because I love when it says like, you're right. Let me rephrase that. I'm like, yeah, I caught you.
Yeah, but isn't it just a good robot in that it will always tell us that we're right because it knows
Yeah.
that's what we want to hear?
Yeah. I love its emoji usage. Like I'm like, good job. And it's like, thanks. And then it's like winky face. Let me know when you need my help again. I'm like, I will. I kind of love it. I kind of hate it. It's a.
I think that's everyone's reactions, certainly with AI, but even with technology in general. There's always this love-hate relationship with it. So, that
Luckily, like I help small businesses a lot, like so local small businesses. And like for the moment at least, like that demographic is like, you're always going to, for the moment at least, when you're looking for plumber near me, like
hmm
that's there's like a certain point to that where like you're gonna go to Google and
hmm
but yeah, for certain industries it's definitely
hmm
impacting.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a question and it just flew right
Sorry.
out of my head. No, it's fine. Oh, you mentioned local SEO, which is still a really big deal. And also something I'm helping with a client right now, working on this project for them. So what are your like top three tips for local SEO?
Well, like funny enough, my biggest one is like literally just telling people on your website where you are. Like
Hmm.
it's so funny. Like I'll find like especially like brick and mortar type businesses that like can't service someone in, Ohio if they're in California. I'll be like, your website doesn't say the word California on it ever. Like maybe on their contact page, like in the bottom, like of a little footer. But
Hmm.
like other than that, like it won't be like, we are a California business that services, blah 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 county. Like so literally just like for me specifically, like I can technically help everyone, in the United States. I can help anyone overseas, but like, there's no negative impact for me to tell my website, like, here's where I'm located, by the way. Like,
Hmm.
because then, if someone happens to search like SEO near me and they're in my region, like I'll show up first. So it's like, maybe you want to get that national reach, which I get, but like that's tough. Whereas, why not get the
Hmm.
local? So, literally
Hmm.
just telling your website where you are is
Hmm.
honestly a huge step. Um, and then obviously, like the biggest thing you can do is, your Google business profile.
Hmm.
And like when I say that, I mean like everything to do with it. So like so many of my clients, when I'm like meeting them, they'll be like, I have one of those. And then I'll like check it out. I'll be like, you basically don't. You know, like they don't have a category, they don't have a bio, they don't have pictures, you know, they don't have hours. So yeah, obviously making sure your Google business profile's, you know, fleshed out. And then um yeah, I mean, along with that, all the other directories too. You really can't have enough of those.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, like it all just goes back to the website, like I said. So if you do, you know, local services, you know, making sure each service page says where you are, and then it's funny, like a lot of times we kind of like look down on like creating like location pages and stuff like, oh, that's old SEO. But they actually do still work. So like if you create a location page for like every location you service, like 9 out of 10 times it does still work and Google won't be
Hmm.
like, that's spammy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, try to make them a little unique. Like don't just copy and paste the same content on every
I was
page.
gonna say that's the issue I
Yeah.
run into with my clients is they just copy and paste on
Yeah.
a whole bunch of different pages when they want to, rank for all these different locations. And I'm like, oh, honey, no.
Yeah. Yeah, no, don't just copy and paste, but honestly, like not even changing the content up that much will still work. It's kind and it's kind of frustrating because I've always been like, you should change up the whole content and you use different pictures and blah blah blah.
Right?
But then I'll see ones that don't do that working, and I'll be like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, so maybe I don't need to be trying as hard as I am.
Yeah, isn't that frustrating? Like it's funny, but it's also kind of frustrating when you're told these things don't work and then you do a Google search and guess what ranks at the top?
Yeah.
Websites doing what we tell people not to do.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the websites you'll see ranking number one or two or three are just hilarious, and you're like, what? Why? And
Yeah.
sometimes I can't figure out why.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all that I have. Oh, I have one more question. What's your favorite thing about what you do?
I think I get pretty nerdy when it comes to like the analytics and like the
Mhm.
data. So, I mean, I think there's nothing better than like looking at a graph and I always go the wrong way with my hands, but like
I
literally just
know.
being able to say like, look at the effect that what we've been doing has.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, the cool thing with SEO is like, and people always say, you know, it takes months, you know, to start working and stuff like that, but especially taking a website that has nothing, which is kind of my personal favorite, is like literally taking a website that has nothing
Hmm.
because it is easier to show results. Um, like taking a website with nothing and just like doing just the bare minimum, like just like the first step of what we would do,
Hmm.
like can have an impact like pretty quickly, like, you know, because it's like you're going from nothing to like something. So,
Yeah.
literally just watching that first couple months and being able to say like, okay, like what we did actually like mattered. Um, that's the cool part because like coming from like a marketing background, some stuff wasn't trackable, you know, like did
Yeah.
that random, you know, time I handed out flyers on the corner, did anyone bring a flyer in, you know?
Yeah.
So literally being able to see the results is really cool and, you know, makes the clients happy and I like happy people. So yeah, so I could spend all day just like looking at Google Analytics or
Hmm.
making a report. So yeah, I'd say that's my favorite part. And I do like helping, like I said, small businesses specifically because I think that, you know, selfishly, I think it's easier to work on those ones just because their, you know, market is smaller. But
Yeah.
also, I just think they need the most help and it's the most rewarding to help, you know, like local businesses in your area.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'd say
100%.
those two things.
Awesome. I get really nerdy about analytics too. I love saying, oh, wait, that worked. And people are going over here now and they're coming through this
Yeah.
keyword. And yeah, it's
Sometimes
fascinating.
it can get like a little overwhelming, like because you can really be like you know, your brain can kind of melt after a while,
Little bit. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's funny. Like I read an article recently that was saying how like keywords are kind of dead at the moment, where it's like it's more so about, you know, like the topic and the, you know, like in general. And that I'm kind of pleased about just because like I'm sure you get it all the time, but when clients get really like in the weeds about like this keyword went from 10 to 12
Hmm.
and like that's our biggest seller and having to be like, but the traffic increased, like
Yes.
that's what matters. Why do we care about this random word? Like apparently,
Right.
it's
Well,
almost an
and
impossible thing to track anyway. So it's like,
it kind of is. And I struggle to
where are
explain to my
they? Like,
clients, yeah, why we need multiple keywords for one piece of content because I think they still think like ages ago when it's like, well, you have this one keyword for this one piece of content. And it's like, no, we have a target keyword and then we have related keywords so that Google will see
mhm.
all those related keywords and go, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. As long as they're related and relevant. That was the other problem I had with a client one time is like she was editing a piece I wrote and like totally changed the meaning. And I was like, well, now we have to look at a different keyword because
Yeah.
this is no longer relevant to what we want people to search. So yeah, that's always fun. Well, this has been great, Kirsten. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat. Before I let you go, tell the good people where they can reach out to you to further this conversation if they want.
Yeah, this was fun. Hopefully everyone understood everything and we didn't get too weird about SEO. But yeah, my business name is Intertwined Digital Marketing. Like Allison said, the word intertwined. But you can find me on everything as like Intertwined SEO, because it's nice and short. And then the biggest thing that I do is SEO office hours. So once a month, I go live on YouTube and I just talk about SEO and answer questions about that. So that's like, I basically do this, but answering questions and babbling. So, yes, intertwined SEO.
Awesome. And what's your YouTube handle? Is it Intertwined SEO?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. Awesome. And I, of course, am your host, Allison Verhalen. You can find me also on YouTube at Allison Verhalen Content Marketer. And you can check out my website at AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. Thanks so much. Have a great week and
Cool.
happy blogging.
Thanks.